Alrighty, so UFC 322. Just around the corner, we got JDM taking on Islam Makhachev in one of the most anticipated matchups of the year. A fight I didn't think was ever going to happen. Truthfully, I picked JDM to lose the ball, hand up. But we'll get into the breakdown when we get into the breakdown. You might hear some stuff going on up there. It's okay. I'm recording this beforehand. This week's going to be very busy, full transparency, so I don't know when I'm uploading this, but yeah, this week's very busy for me. There's holidays. I got doctor's appointments. I'm working a lot. Some late night stuff. You know how it is for us working class. God, we are the structure of society. Now, with that being said, I typically do breakdowns. You know the drill. I go through every fight. We go through my thoughts and opinions on the fighter, predictions, and then afterwards I do a breakdown if you're newer. And I personally don't like doing a lot of research before my fights, and I go based purely off of my experience of 3 years of watching the sport. Now, with that being said, I've watched top to bottom. I've done breakdowns of every single card for the last year. Go ahead, check my breakdowns, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Without further ado, let's get into the breakdowns here. Other than the main event, I have very little knowledge of most of these fights, so I haven't thought about them too much. So we're getting into it. Chepe Mariscal takes on Pat Sabatini. My brain is a little bit mush. I might be getting a little sick as well. Gotta get that H2O. Chepe Mariscal takes on Pat Sabatini in the opening fight, eh? Wow, interesting. Chepe Mariscal is a really good brawler. Pat Sabatini, a really good jiu-jitsu specialist. Very chinny. Pat Sabatini, chinny. Pat Chinny Sabatini. Hey, I come up with these on the fly. Now, this is a very interesting one. Ooh. Chepe's really good. Like, really, really, really good. I think he got fucked up in a earlier UFC fight, I want to say. But it's been a while since he's looked like kind of human. There's been some close performances. Hakata Homos in a decision isn't really that impressive in hindsight. Damon Jackson, that's a pretty good performance. Morgan Charrier, also a really good performance, where there was some striking and grappling in that fight. Jack Jenkins, I think he was the one who broke Jack Jenkins' arm, right? Yeah. Verbal kaput foot. What the fuck is that? Anyways, Trevor Peek. You can forget the great Trevor Peek. But yeah, Pat Sabatini's pretty good. Just beat Joe Anderson Brito. Yeah. He literally laid on him. I think that fight was 15 minutes. I think he laid on him for 14 minutes, maybe more. Yeah, Pat Sabatini put on a grappling clinic. All right, he embraces an inner Sean Brady and just fucking ragdoll Joe Anderson Brito for like 14 minutes. It was kind of wild. Jonathan Pierce, good win. Jonathan Pierce ain't like the greatest of names, but it's still a good win. Did what he needed to do, got the takedown. I think he got the takedown instantly. And the moment he got a takedown, he just fought for a submission. It was just over for Jonathan Pierce. Diego Lopez, he got fucked up because he literally came out, said he wants to strike and showcases his team striking. He got fucked up because we know from the Gene Silva fight, you don't want to be in there with Diego Lopez and have a striking game plan. Lucas Almeida, good win in hindsight. Lucas is back in the win column. It's not really a great win overall. Damon Jackson KOing him via ground and pound. Now, very interesting. I don't think Pat Sabatini's just going to get a takedown on Chepe Mariscal. I think he's going to have to work for it. Pat Sabatini knows what he's doing. Like, his grappling's legit. But he sort of has to get to the grappling and not strike. And now, I do think he's sort of... It's matured a bit since his... Not debut, but he's matured a bit since that Diego Lopez fight, and he's realized, yeah, I need to grapple with people to win a fight. I don't know if he's going to be able to grapple Chepe that fast. Ooh. Like, Pat Sabatini's definitely a better grappler than anyone Chepe's fought. But I think I might go with Pat Sabatini here. Because Chepe hits hard, and he's been doing well, and he's been striking with people, but he's not finishing people I think he needs to be finishing. Like, I feel like he should have been able to finish Ricardo Ramos. Damon Jackson, similar situation. Morgan Charrier. It was a good back and forth. Like, I get not finishing him. Jack Jenkins, that was an arm injury. Oh, it's rough. It's rough. It's rough. Can I... No, that's just going to show me that. Can I... What happens if I... Oh, that just chooses it. Fuck. How do I... Let's do some research here. What was other fights? Because I swear he lost, like, a fight that's not too bad. Mayor Eskull record. I want to say it's not that bad. Am I wrong here? Trevor Peak. Really? Why am I thinking he's lost in the UFC? Maybe I'm confusing him with, like, Steve Garcia or some shit. Oh, lost to Joe Anderson Brito. Now, that's interesting. You could MMA math this. You know, Pat Sabatini beat Joe Anderson. Joe Anderson beat Chepe. I think that might be the KO I'm thinking of. Interesting. But yeah, Chepe's a grinder. He's the league's better striker. He's got a way more toughness. Pat Sabatini is really good on the ground. Oof, this is tough, man. I'm going to go with Pat Sabatini here. Oh, man. I can just so see Pat Sabatini getting, like, a trip and instantly, like, getting the back, locking in a submission. This is either going to look one of two ways. If you pick Sabatini and Sabatini wins, you're going to be like, oh, I mean, obviously he was going to win. He's the better grappler. I think if you're picking Chepe Mariscal and Chepe wins, you're going to be like, obviously he was going to win. Pat Sabatini's beat nobody. But, I mean, what it comes down to is who's a little bit more reliable and who can implement their game plan. Chepe kind of relies on his other fighters being worse and, like, not as tough as him. And I know Sabatini's not as tough as him, but I think he's instantly shooting a takedown. Now, if he comes out and says, I'm going to strike, I'm going to showcase my team striking whatever, like he did with the Lopez fight, Chepe's going to win this, no problem. I think it's going to be one of those moments. The moment Sabatini gets, like, his hands on Chepe, I'm going to be really worried for Chepe. Chepe's good, though. He's really good. He's kind of like a Nathaniel Wood in a way. He's a lot like Nathaniel Wood in a way, where he's tough as shit, he grinds it out. But I do think he's going to be open to getting submished by Pat Sabatini. I'm going to go Pat Sabatini submission. I think round 2. I think we're going to get a very dominant round 1. Chepe's going to come out in round 2 and be a little tired. Gas tank looks pretty good for Chepe. I like Chepe, man. I want Chepe to win. I don't like Sabatini. He just looks like a... He looks like the fucking... How do I describe it? He looks like the guy who would ask out the pretty girl at the prom because he's popular, and the pretty girl turns him down. If that makes sense. I don't know. That's kind of the vibe I get with Pat Sabatini. I'm gonna go Sabatini submish, but I hope Chepe wins. I hope he wins this one. I just think Pat Sabatini's grappling canyon is a little too much. I don't think Chepe's like that big of a dude. He's not like that imposing as a muscle you out kind of guy. So I think he's open to getting finished here. So I'm going Sabatini. Not happy about it. Moving on. Malcolm Wellmaker versus Cody Haddon. Malcolm Wellmaker is winning this fight via round 1 KO because of aura purposes, and that's my only reasoning behind this. Listen, Wellmaker is fucking really, really good, and he's got lights out power. He smoked Cameron Simon, and that's very impressive. I know Cameron Simon's not the greatest in terms of technique, and he's a little smaller for the bantamweight division. Cameron Simon is still tough as shit, and it took Peyton Talbot a lot to get him out of there. Malcolm Wellmaker did it with one punch while losing. Chris Moutinho also smoked him. And a lot of people in this fight for the build-up were thinking like Chris Moutinho might make it to the end. dude, Wellmaker might genuinely just have different power. Like, he genuinely just might have different heat in those hands. He's in prime. Cody Haddon is really good. Maybe not really good. You know, he's good. He's good. He's there. You know? I think he out-wrestled Dan Arguita. You know? Not really the best of names, but Cody Haddon showcased a pretty decent performance against Dan Arguita. I want to say that was a grappling. Cody, if I'm thinking of the same fighter, I'm pretty sure it was a grappling, like, sort of fight. Oh, fuck, you can't see the... How do you see stats? This would work, right? Is that strikes? What is this? We're finding this out together, folks, okay? Yeah, significant strikes. Yeah, he just outworked the shit out of them. And takedowns. Holy shit, yeah. Yeah, he stuffed the shit out of their takedowns and then just fucked them up. Yeah, Cody Haddon's good. Cody Haddon's good. If Cody Haddon's smart, he starts the grappling early, which could be a problem for Malcolm Wellmaker. I think Cody Haddon did well against Dan Arguita, though, mainly because he's a good anti-grappler, not necessarily because he's a great grappler himself. I don't think he's going to be bad. I just think Wellmaker is going to be prepared. You know, I think this is going to be a situation where it's like Wellmaker's been waiting for grapplers to sort of test them. He's going to get tested, and he's going to pass a test, is kind of where I'm thinking. You know, I think this might look a lot like the, Peyton Talbot Cameron Simon fight, only less significant strikes, because Malcolm Wellmaker, he genuinely might have the touch of death. This guy's, he hits different. So I'm picking Malcolm Wellmaker, hype train, entail. I'm still on the train. Choo-choo. Let's fucking get through these motherfuckers. Let's get through these cans, Malcolm Wellmaker. We will beat Cody Haddon, and move on. Moving on, we have Roman Kopylov taking on Gregory Rodriguez. This is a tough one. I like both of these dudes. All right, both of these kids are warriors. Big red flag with Roman Kopylov. Last fight, he's coming off the loss to Paulo Costa. I picked Paulo Costa to beat Roman Kopylov. I've also, since I've been doing picks, I think I'm pretty sure I'm like perfect on Roman Kopylov picks. Likewise with Gregory Rodriguez. Maybe I picked Cannonier. Maybe I picked Gregory Rodriguez in that. I can't remember. But regardless, I like both these dudes. One of the first fights I ever watched in the sport was Gregory getting knocked out by Bruno Ferreira. So that's, you know, that showcases my skin in the game in terms of like where I'm at. But yeah, this fight is very interesting. Roman Kopylov, really good Russian kickboxer. Not really great grappling defense. Not gonna grapple. He might shoot a takedown, but he's probably not gonna get it ever in his fights. Gregory Rodriguez, really good basic fighter in terms of he has mega power, but he only does basic shits. I'm talking like straight rights, straight lefts, hooks. You very rarely will see like a full effort kick. You very rarely will see like a dangerous spinning move from Gregory Rodriguez. It will just be basic shit. And I think he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt as well. Now, if you do 1 + 1 = 2, Kopylov will get submitted because Kopylov struggles with good grapplers. Gregory Rodriguez is a good grappler. Any good grappler Kopylov has faced, he's pretty much got submitted from. Now, what I will say, Gregory's not going to shoot it. I will be shocked if Gregory shoots a takedown despite him having a black belt. He's typically a guy who goes in there and he just throws with everything he has. And he's built for 3 round fights. He's not built for 5 round fights. He's built for 3 rounds. Still young somehow. How is Gregory the younger fighter? When you see these two, tell me Gregory Rodriguez is the younger fighter without knowing their ages. You're just lying. Like, how is it possible this guy's younger than Roman Kopylov? Literally bigger brother to Chase Hooper looking like. But Kopylov is good. I respect his striking. He's a lot more of a tappy striker than he is like a danger striker. So he will sort of like, more of like a Leon Edwards, sort of wait for his moment to sort of strike. Maybe a little bit more active than Leon Edwards. But the thing with Kopylov is that I do think he's a little bit chinny. And he's only getting older. I think if Gregory lands like a good right hand down the pipe, it puts down Kopylov. And another thing this comes down to, he smoked Jack Hermanson, laid him out stiff. After round one, if this is like a close round, because Gregory's lost round ones before, he's been losing and then comes back from a win. But my thing here is that like Kopylov kind of needs a good head start. Gregory will probably give him that head start, but when Kopylov is in his corner is one of the worst corner advices I've ever heard of. In the Paulo Costa fight, they told him he was up 2 rounds. He was down 2 rounds, very clearly. And they just basically told Kopylov, like, you don't need to finish, keep it safe. Like, and their corner have done this in other fights before where they've given bad advice for Kopylov. I'm really leaning towards Gregory Rodriguez here. Both of their chins are probably roughly the same strength. Gregory's got a little bit more power. Kopylov's got a little bit more volume. If this goes to the judges' scorecards, I'm not going to be shocked if Kopylov can pull out another decision or split decision. I don't think it's going to the scorecards. I think Gregory is going to find a KO in round 2 after round 1 having a bad corner advice and telling Kopylov, like, you're up. Stay safe. Kopylov gets a little overzealous, maybe commits a little too much to a low kick, and gets right hand down the pipe. This is either going to look like a style mismatch on one side or the other, in my opinion. This is either going to be Gregory getting peppered for 3 rounds, and it's just because Kopylov's like the better technique striker, or it's going to be Kopylov getting smoked because Kopylov just doesn't have enough power to keep him competitive. You know, that's another thing with the Paulo Costa fight. I don't really think Costa was in any danger in that fight. And that was primarily a stand-up fight, and I think Kopylov, if I remember, actually shot a takedown. If he shoots a takedown on Gregory, you'll know he's fucked. That's what I'm going to say. If he shoots a takedown on Gregory, I can see Gregory doing whatever the fuck he wants with him on the ground. Moving on, we have Bo Penny taking on Rodolfo Vieira. Big test for Bo Nickel, some say. Okay. I get it. Rodolfo Vieira is a black belt, I think. But he is kind of chinny. And he is kind of slow on the feet. His boxing's alright. I think he did all right against Tresean Gore. I think he was able to outbox him on the feet a little bit. You know, both these guys, I think, beat Tresean Gore, no? Or I'm thinking of Val Woodburn, I think, is who I'm thinking of for Bo Nickel. Coming off a not impressive performance against Reiner de Ritter, where he got absolutely masterclass almost everywhere. Had to take down, to be fair. But the thing with Bo Nickel, and I do think he's good, and this is what I will say, he's very low IQ, and that's because he doesn't have a lot of skin in the game. That's what I'll say. His striking isn't that great, and it's almost like he doesn't... I genuinely... Hey, sue me. Don't actually. I thought Paul Craig beat Bo Nickel. I did. I thought he won round 1 and 2, and he lost round 3. For Paul Craig. I thought he outstruck him, outlanded him, outdamaged him in round 1 and 2. Very boring rounds. In round 3, he got wobbled. It is what it is. And you know Bo Nickel ain't shooting on fucking Paul Craig. We know what happens to prospects that shoot on Paul Craig. Okay. But, yeah, Bo Nickel's pretty good. His striking is leaving a lot to be desired, but he showcased, like, decent power. He just needs to, like, tighten it up. His grappling, he's kind of showcasing he's not even that good in. Wrestling is different from grappling. When I say grappling, I mean everything. I mean jiu-jitsu, sambo. I'm like all that mushed into one. Bo Nickel just knows how to pick up legs and sniff your crotch, and that's about it. I do think he probably KOs Rodolfo Vieira, with all that being said, though. Nickel's still good, and I think he passes this test. Rodolfo's got good boxing, but the thing with his boxing is that because he's a little bit slower on the feet, he's kind of open on the feet, and he does, like, when I watch him fight, he does sort of, like, it's a little stiff out there, and I think if Bo Nickel's fighting, like, a stiff opponent, he could probably find the shot, you know? Reiner de Ritter's a tricky opponent, despite him quitting. Apparently he went through cardiac arrest. I don't know if you guys know, people who watch know, but yeah, he went through cardiac arrest in that Brandon Allen fight. Interesting. But, yeah, I mean, just how shit is Bo Nickel? Yeah, I'm going with Bo Nickel here. If you're picking Rodolfo Vieira, I get it, and I could see like a from the bottom submission. I think Nickel's gonna beat Rodolfo Vieira via KO though. I think you'll find that shot maybe late round 3 or early round 3, late round 2. I'm gonna say round 2. I'm gonna say round 2. You know, I think we're gonna see this might be a lot like Joe Pyfer Abus. I want to say that fight was where Abus had a really dominant first round where he got the better in the grappling, and was really making Joe Pyfer look like a bitch. And then in round 2, Joe Pyfer just switched on and knocked his ass out. I don't think it's going to be one-to-one like that. I just see kind of Bo Nickel struggling in round 1, and then his corner giving him actual good advice, and then him going in there and actually doing things he needs to do in order to KO Rodolfo Vieira. I could even see Rodolfo shooting a takedown and getting it stuffed pretty badly, like a very obvious takedown, and getting smoked just because he thinks he has such a high grappling pedigree on Bo Nickel. But, you know, crazier things have happened. I don't like Rodolfo Vieira losing to Andre Petroski, and I don't like him losing or winning. Like, his wins aren't that great either. Armin Petrosian, Cody Brundage, like, I mean, they're just dumb. They're just dumb at the end of the day. But I'm going to go Bo Nickel. I get why people are on Rodolfo a little bit. But yeah, we move on. Gerald Mearshart versus Kyle Dawkins. GM3 still here. Hey. Great for the sport. Great for the sport. The legendary GM3, you know, the one that gaslit me into thinking RDR sucked. And then I got reverse gaslit by his Bo Nickel performance thinking RDR's great. What a sport we have. GM3's on a bit of a stinker right now, and he's been looking like shit. He's gotten wobbled pretty bad in his fights. He's getting kind of out-muscled by people I don't think he should be getting out-muscled by. He got smoked by McCullough and Jaychuk. Brad Tavares beat him pretty handedly. Yeah, it's not looking good for GM3. It's really not looking good for GM3. Very slow, very like lethargic out there, almost. Kyle Dawkins looked good. I mean, I think he came back after being on a 5-fight win streak outside the UFC. I think he came back and he smoked Michel Pereira. Very good win. Michel Pereira might also just be a bum. He's just one of those guys that like you just never know with Michel Pereira. I know there's a lot of drama in his life and that might be affecting it, but regardless of that, I'm gonna go Kyle Dawkins. I've seen this guy in the UFC KO someone. Gerald Mearshart has been getting fucked up pretty bad. And his wins, well, they're not too bad. They kind of just are against not smart comp, I guess. Not good, like, not great comp now. Kyle Dawkins now, it's sort of like, what have you done for me lately? Kyle Dawkins has done a lot for me lately in getting a KO over Michel Pereira. I think I even picked him to... Nah, I think I picked Michel Pereira in that one. But yeah, I'm going to go with Kyle Dawkins getting a KO in GM3. He just gets hurt too often, gets wobbled too often. I think he's just going to go out probably round 1, round 2. Kyle Dawkins knows what he's doing here. He's been in the UFC before. These are two crafty vets. One's young, one's more in prime, one's coming off a KO and a win streak. I got to go with the young guy. Moving on, Angela Hill versus Fatima Klein. Oh, so if you don't know, I do this very high-tech method of picking my women's fights. I think I went 0 for 3 last time. It is what it is. Sometimes the coin, you know, it betrays me. But, yeah, I do coin flips for my women's fights. I don't give a fuck about women's fights. Heads on the left, tails on the right, and I really don't think they matter. Tails on the right. We got Fatima Klein. Oh, you know, she's the favorite. Yeah, you know, yeah, Fatima Klein's good. You know, she's beaten Melissa Martinez by head kick KO. You know, people forget, man. You know, nobody does that to Melissa Martinez. You know, she's beat you know, Didakova. You know, yeah. And Angela Hill, you know, what a crafty vet. Some say the Anthony Smith of the women's division. I am also in agreement with that statement. 40 years old, holy shit. I think she almost beat Yasmin Lucindo. She had like a choke or something in that, wasn't it? Or am I thinking of I might be thinking of the Ketlin Souza fight, to be fair. But yeah, you know, Angela Hill's not bad. She could win this, but I don't care because it's a women's fight. Moving on, we have Bison, Bisengur, Bison, what? Bisengur Susarakev taking on Eric Mechanico. This is an interesting one. Bison Guru, whatever the fuck his name is. Was Hunter. We're gonna call him Hunter, okay? Hunter over here. Who did he beat? Eric Nolan? Who? Who? I don't even remember this fight. Who? Young as shit, eh? Damn. Interesting. I think that was a fast fight, if I'm not mistaken. Is there another women? There's another fucking women's fight on this card. I don't want to look up his name. Oh wait, I can just copy paste, right? Copy, paste. Oh, it was round 2? Why the fuck do I not remember this fight? Brain's mush these days. I'll blame the sickness. Eric Mechanico had a nice performance in his last one against Cody Brundage. Split decision. It is what it is. It happens. Cody Brundage is kind of not that bad in hindsight. I think a lot of people thought Cody won that fight as well. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, this was like a back and forth where, like, both men got pretty fucked up, if I'm not mistaken, right? It was a pretty good scrap. And they just ended up getting pretty tired in the third round. UFC? Record? Okay, we're just gonna look up stats. We're gonna see this one. Yeah, they were like landing back and forth. Cody Brundage got takedowns. Yeah, I remember this. Yeah, he's doing good. Both guys kind of gassed pretty bad in that fight. I want to say it was short notice for Eric Mechanico. There's no odds for these fights yet. You can tell I'm recording this before the week of the fight, because I think during the week of the fight they actually have odds. I'm curious what the odds for this fight is. Eric Mechanico's not bad. I don't think he's... But, like... Oh, man. I'm going to go with... Yeah, I'm going to go with Hunter over here. By decision. Crafty vet decision. Actually, I'm going to go via submission. If Cody Brundage is getting takedowns on you, this Bison Guru guy is probably going to get takedowns on you. So I'm going to go submission. We'll go round 1. Fuck it. Interesting night. Yeah, round 3, round 1. Round 1. We'll go submission round 1. Yeah. I'm going to trust in the undefeated Russian prospect. Jeez, I wonder why. Anyways, moving on. We have Erin Blanchfield taking on Tracy Cortez 2? Is that her name? Or is that the fight? Is this their second time fighting each other? I don't know. Yeah, you know, I knew that. Anyways, yeah, you know, let me just say, I don't care who the fuck wins this, but we'll flip a coin. Heads on the left, tails on the right. Tails on the right. Looks like we're going on the right side. Tracy Cortez. Interesting fight. Yeah. Erin Blanchfield's pretty good on the grappling, and her striking's not too bad. Like, Erin Blanchfield, doesn't she have a win over Molly McCann? It's kind of funny. Doesn't she have a win over Dern? Erin Blanchfield. I swear she has a win over Mackenzie Dern, or am I tripping? Talita, Jessica Andrade, JJ Aldrich. Maybe I'm thinking of Aldrich. Yeah, I guess I'm thinking of Aldrich. I don't know. Just, you know. Yeah, we're going with Tracy Cortez. She's cute. Yeah, that's about it. You know. Yeah, I don't care. Moving on. Sean Brady versus Michael Morales. Wow, that's coming up now, huh? Jesus. Ooh, time flies, eh? Time flies. Let me just adjust my hat here. Sean Brady versus Michael Morales. Listen, Michael Morales had a good performance against Gilbert Burns. Well, Gilbert kind of just quit to getting cracked once, unfortunately. That's a retirement fight for sure. Um, Michael Morales is good. Sean Brady, if he doesn't get a takedown, might get bitched, even though his hands are pretty good. Like, he's got okay strike. He's got good boxing. He's got good boxing. And he's big, man. When he's in there, like, he doesn't look like it because of tattoos and the way he sounds and his broken nose and shit. Bro, when Sean Brady's in there, he's a fucking big dude. Like, he's a thick gentleman, you know? So, I'm going Sean Brady here. I don't even really need to think about this that much. Yeah, I'm going to go Sean Brady via 3-round decision. If this was 5 rounds, maybe something spicy could happen in the later rounds. Michael Morales is pretty good. He's very untested. Like, yeah, he KO'd Neil Magny. Welcome to the club. That's what every prospect should be doing. Jake Matthews is a good win in hindsight. Max Griffin is alright. Adam Fugit, fucking terrible. But the thing with Michael Morales is because he's so unproven, it's almost like we don't know what his X factor is yet. Like, we've seen him go against, like, relatively okay guys. We don't know if he's really a power puncher. Yeah, he KO'd Gilbert Burns in the first round. I mean, if you watch the fight, it's very clear Gilbert just, like, he just doesn't have it anymore. Or it could be Michael Morales' power, but that's the thing. It's like, there's always those circumstances with some of his fights. So we don't know if he's a good a great grappler. We don't know if he's a high-level grappler. We don't know if he's a high-level striker, and we don't know if he's got high-level power. This will be the test. If he's got high-level grappling, he should be able to beat Sean Brady in the scrambles. Brady's probably the most dominant grappler in the division. It's hard for me to think of anyone that can beat him in grappling. And I think Sean Brady's just going to be able to get a takedown. And like we've seen Michael Morales get held against the fence. We've seen him get taken down. I think in one of these fights, he's been taken down. I want to say in like the Jake Matthews or like Max. I swear I've seen him get taken down. But I do think Sean Brady is going to be... Voice crack. Jesus Christ. Anyways, we're going to pretend that didn't happen. Moving on. Yeah, I'm going with Brady here. I'm kind of surprised there's so many people on Morales. Damn. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm going to go with Sean Brady here. I think in a 5-rounder, some wild shit could happen in the 4th and 5th, where it's like untested, unproven category for Michael Morales. But I think in 3-rounders, I think Sean Brady's just like going to get takedowns and dominate just top position. He does what he needs to do to hold position too, and that's what I like about Sean Brady's grappling. He will smother you, and when he's there, you're not getting out. So I'm going with Sean Brady. Michael Morales could pull it off. He's just untested. So there's nothing that screams on the Michael Morales side, oh, he's going to win this fight via this method. You know? Where I can look at Sean Brady and be like, yeah, he can grind out a decision. Yeah, he's got okay striking. Probably enough to get his takedowns going. Yeah, he'll shoot for takedowns. He knows to shoot for takedowns since the Bull fight. Now, Sean Brady comes out and is like, I'm going to strike with this guy. I'm going to be a little worried. But if this is grappling Sean Brady hits different. Moving on. Beneil Dariush taking on Benoit Saint-Denis. Very interesting matchup. Wow. Going Benoit Saint-Denis. I like Beneil Dariush. Good guy. Great guy, you know. But Beneil Dariush is fairly chinny, and he beat Moicano because Moicano wasn't there to win. I don't know what was going through Moicano's head in that fight, but Moicano just made so many fucking mistakes in the grappling, ended up getting taken down and ragdolled. So it's not out of the question that like Beneil could just out-grapple Benoit Saint-Denis, because Benoit Saint-Denis will probably try to get some grappling threat going. I think this is going to look a lot like the Frivola fight, where you're just going to see something wild from Benoit, and Beneil's going to go down, unfortunately, you know? Beneil in round 1 is notoriously chinny. He's very, very chinnable in round 1. Benoit Saint-Denis is probably the most dangerous in round 1, you know? So, I'm going to go Benoit Saint-Denis via KO in round 1. Benny's a good guy. I like Beneil Dariush, and he's a company man at the end of the day. Benoit Saint-Denis just had very bad luck getting staph infection for the, what's it called? For the Dustin Poirier fight. And then his Renato Moicano fight, yeah, he got showcased, he could get out-grappled. but that was more of like a jiu-jitsu fight. And that was a hungry Moicano. I don't know. Like, the Moicano that showed up to the Beneil Dariush fight is not the same Moicano that showed up to fight Benoit Saint-Denis. I think we can all agree on that. So I'm going to go with Benoit Saint-Denis here. Crazier things have happened in this upset, but yeah, I think Benoit Saint-Denis he's got the advantage everywhere other than wrestling. So as long as he doesn't get laid on, I think he takes this. And Beneil Dariush striking is good. It's not good enough against dangerous opponents. We've seen Charles Oliveira rock him. We've seen Drucker Close rock him. We've seen Armin Sarukian flatline him. You know, like, we've seen not great performances from Beneil Dariush. So I'm going to go with Benoit Saint-Denis. And we're going to move on to the featured fights of the night. Leon Edwards taking on Carlos Prates. It hurts me because one of the first fights that made me watch this, or I guess highlights, whatever you want to say, was Leon Edwards getting a head kick KO on Kamaru Usman. That was genuinely one of the first fights that got me into the sport. And if it wasn't for those clips and those highlights, I might not be watching the sport, to be fair. Because after that, because I think it just happened during the time of me sort of watching, man, what a different era it was. I think I was going on my weight loss journey, so I was watching a lot of those Mike Tyson videos, you know. I'm the most brutal and vicious conqueror there's ever been. There's no one like me, you know. Those fucking clips and those 28 days later fucking montages and shit. But during that time, I saw Leon Edwards head kick KO Kamaru Usman. No idea of who these two were. I was just like, oh, that's cool. I wonder what, like, show or movie it's from. And then when I looked into it and I looked at like documentaries and shit, I'm like, wait, this is like real combat sports. This is sick, you know? So one of the reasons why I got into the sport was a Leon Edwards highlight. It's pretty wild, you know? Rocky style. We all know the story with Rocky Edwards here. But he has fallen off. He's fallen off a fucking cliff. He's been getting outstruck for a long time. And he's been able to survive the grapplers. It was a close fight with Bilal. Even though it was a clear Bilal fight, it was like sort of close when it comes to how you want to score rounds. And in moments where it's just like, Leon, if you just threw 3 more elbows here, you win the fight. But he just doesn't have that heart. He really doesn't have heart. He really doesn't have that grit to sort of bite down and trade. You know, much like O'Malley in a way, where they sort of want to avoid ever getting hit. They don't have that bite down, throw a hook when you need to, you know? I'm down 2 rounds. I need to pull the fire out. You know, you gotta pull the fire out your fucking belly, Leon. Go on, son. He's just not doing it again, you know? Carlos Prates, I think, is going to win this. I think he's going to win a decision. I think he's going to hurt Leon Edwards. But I do think this is going to be one of those moments for Carlos where moment's pretty big. And, like, I know Carlos Prates, fighting nerds, whatever, and he got fraud checked by Ian Gary, rightly predicted by myself. But the thing with Leon Edwards is that he is breakable, but he's almost like a cockroach. He always, like, sort of finds out a way to survive. Although he didn't in the Sean Brady fight. I think that just speaks to Sean Brady's skills. He does find ways to survive in every fight when he gets wobbled, when he gets rocked, and that could be his opponents fumbling the bag. But it's also like there are glimpses of like, oh, but he did take down Kamaru Usman. Oh, but he did win the rematch with Kamaru Usman while getting a point deduced because he cheats. And Leon cheats a lot. Depending on the ref, he might just get away with cheating. So I think, you know, if he gets wobbled, stung to the cage, he's genuinely going to grab the fence, hold himself up, and pick himself out from the fire. And Carlos Prates is probably going to fumble a KO there, and Carlos has, like, fumbled KOs before. Wicked KO on Jeff Neal, congrats. You know, it took him a while to kill a already wounded animal in Neil Magny. Neil Magny got wobbled in the first minute. It took him, like, 3 minutes to figure out how to find that KO shot. Zhang Weili, good performance, but, again, these guys they're kind of like punching bags that stare at him. Leon Edwards, like, will stick and move. So, I think Prates will win a decision here. You know? I think a KO would be likely if I could trust Carlos. Like, if Carlos Prates hadn't lost to Ian Gary, I could trust a KO. But I think with someone who's a little bit more soy in Ian Gary being able to survive a long time without really getting threatened by Carlos Prates to the 5th round, I think is going to leave this to be a lot more of a... Leon's going to do a lot of dumb stuff that ends up losing him the round, shooting a takedown, getting reverse type shit. Where Carlos Prates is... Like, I think he will survive and try to threaten something, and then Edwards will survive and try and threaten something. It's just that Prates' threat is going to be way more looming than fucking Edwards' threat of a takedown. You know what I mean? So, you know, I'm not going to be shocked if Leon gets a takedown or something here, but, you know, he shot a takedown on Sean Brady. No question in my mind now, I'm thinking Leon's going to shoot a takedown on Carlos Prates. We move on. Valentina Shevchenko taking on Weili Zhang. I'm going with... Is this Shem? Who's moving up here? Who's moving up? Who's moving down? Weili's moving up. Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna coin flip this. Heads left, tails right. Oof. Okay. Yeah, we're going Valentina Shevchenko here, boys. What can I say? I mean, she's old. One of the GOATs, some say, of the whole sport. Okay. Yeah. You know, a little bit of a cockroach in there, you know? Down but never out. Unless it's Alexa Grasso. But very interesting fight here. This will actually be interesting. I think this will be a good fight. And near evens actually, I think, is fair. Jesus Christ. Zhang Weili is really, really good. But she can be inconsistent in moments. Like, she did dominate Yan Xiaonan on the ground, but Yan kind of had moments on the feet. And it was kind of interesting seeing Weili get out-muscled in moments. Tatiana Suarez, also kind of a closer fight as well. And then... Actually, the Tatiana Suarez fight, I thought was clear Zhang Weili. She just out-muscled Tatiana. I think I'm thinking of the Shevchenko. Manon Fiora, Shevchenko... I really wasn't paying too much attention, but I remember it being pretty competitive, and Valentina, she really doesn't look like she's filled in at the weight class, which is weird, because it's 125. Did well against Grasso in the rematch by out-grappling Grasso, so that's kind of where, you know, she out-grappled Grasso. Grasso's a good grappler. Yan Xiaonan's not the greatest of grapplers, but was still able to out-muscle Weili in moments, so there's arguments there, so I'm going to go with Shevchenko. Yeah. Via... relatively entertaining 3-2 decision. Moving on, Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. Now, I've probably already uploaded the video to my channel by the time of this upload. I will be picking Jack Della Maddalena, and I went through a lot of the reasonings and everything behind it and why this fight's so hard. This fight should be near evens in terms of picking. Yeah, it's, wow. Yeah, this is how I expect the fight to be. I expect it to be very fucking close. Very close. Very competitive, you know? But what it comes down to is JDM is younger, fresher, in prime, and having more dominant performances against his, like, fighters, if that makes sense. The Bilal fight, JDM fans, cover the ears, I thought was pretty close. JDM still won. Bilal had the chin of the gods. I don't know what the fuck Bilal took before entering that fight. That guy would not go down, okay? And I do think Jack Della Maddalena is kind of pillow-fisted, but, I mean, you can be pillow-fisted and still kick, and still knee, and still elbow. You know what I mean? And then we have Gilbert Burns. Great win on Gilbert Burns after losing 2 rounds. So this guy's not going to quit. Kevin Holland, that was a dominant decision, despite what anyone says. And Basil Efez, it was a close fight, and he got out-grappled by a roid monster, but that was a legit roid monster. Do I think Islam Makhachev is going to get takedowns? Yes. I can trust Jack Della Maddalena, based off what I've seen with training partners of Islam Makhachev, and a good wrestler, and Bilal Muhammad, I can trust JDM to get back to his feet. Am I worried Islam might latch up a Darce? Maybe. I think on the scorecards, though, this isn't going to be a short, stocky Volk, a short, stocky, wide Poirier. This is going to be someone his size fighting him. And when they're on the feet, it's not going to be like, oh, Islam's got some sort of muscle advantage, some sort of height advantage, reach advantage, power advantage. He doesn't have that with Jack Della Maddalena. This is going to be two relatively even fighters. One's great in the striking aspect and can get up. The other one's great in the grappling aspect and can finish a fight in the grappling. So I think Makhachev's a good striker and a very technical striker, but it's been working against short dudes, people where he has advantages of, and he doesn't really have to worry too much about setting a pace because he can just point, tap away, body kick, jab, cross, hook, whatever, right? But JDM, if you strike with him, he's going to win the striking exchange. He will. I thought Bilal had the best hands of his whole career, and he still got outworked by JDM. And I know it's Bilal we're talking about, but, people forget, man, Canelo hands, but JDM is just fucking really good. Really, really good. Islam Makhachev is also really, really good. But I think this is going to come down to who's fresher in the later rounds. Every time Islam's gone against opponents in the 4th and 5th round, he always is slow, tired, and telegraphed. Always. In the Volkanovski 1 fight, arguably Islam's prime, he got a takedown in the 4th round, and he held on for dear life for 3 minutes, 4 minutes. In the 5th round, he got knocked down, almost finished. In the Poirier fight, 4th round, it was a very competitive 4th round, and I can't remember the specific numbers. Let's actually look at it together, so I'm not promoting Makhachev. Let me not fudge these numbers against Poirier. And, he got knocked down to Renato Moicano, and, we all know the rig was in. Renato had to tap. He was doing too well, so he had to forfeit the fight. Otherwise, the rig was in. But regardless, the Poirier fight, what was round 4? Poirier outstruck him in round 4. That is not a good look, man. That's not a good look. And Poirier was doing well in round 5. Both were really tired. And this is like a wash, slow, open Poirier. JDM's not going to be open, man. And that's the thing with Volk. His last opponents, Volkanovski, Dustin Poirier, Renato Moicano. All 3 of those opponents are open as fuck on the feet. Renato keeps his hands way too far out, and that's why he gets dropped by check hooks in almost every single fight against good strikers. Okay? And then Poirier always has his fucking hands down so he can get his hooks in. Volkanovski, he has his hands up, but he always has his chin way up with his hands. It's just something from I think it's CKB gym. Israel Adesanya, Dan Hooker, all of them, they keep their chin way up there. No wonder why they get head kicked off at fucking 10-day short notice. So you can make arguments on JDM's sort of oh, he should be finishing a guy like Kevin Holland. Maybe you can make that argument. Oh, he got out-grappled by a guy like Basil Efez. Oh, he was getting out-grappled by Gilbert Burns for 2 rounds. I get those arguments. I fully understand them. And if you're picking Islam, I'm not going to shit on you. I'm picking JDM. I think I'm probably putting $10 on JDM. I might even do $10 on, KO. JDM's grappling is, and he's been talking about it in interviews, and that kind of worries me. And I went into it a little bit more in depth. Islam Makhachev's side's also got a lot of things where he's on creatine, guys. Let's relax. Creatine's not going to fucking make this guy have 1-hit KO power. JDM has been talking about how Islam's going to be scared of his, or not scared, but surprised with his grappling. I genuinely think so too. I think Islam's thinking, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to hold this guy down, and I'm just going to, like, find a submission while we're on bottom. JDM scrambles are some of the best in the game. Brandon Royval, if I may say, you know. So he's got better boxing than Cody Garbrandt. He's got a better chin than I don't know about any welterweight. He's got a better chin than most fighters. He's probably got the best chin out of any champion. Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, I'd say he's got a better chin than most. Yeah, yeah, I'd be comfortable saying that. I think JDM's got a better chin out of all the champions currently. And I think he's fast. He's in prime. He's young. Like, there's so many good things on the JDM side. And I get the Islam arguments. And if Islam wins, he's probably top 5, maybe top 3, pound for pound all time because of double champ status. But this is the first time Islam's moving up. And we've seen a lot of times, only the great GSP, okay, can beat that curse. But we've seen a lot of people go up and not have a lot of success. And I know Pereira's a different, like, but listen to these names. GSP, the GOAT of the sport. Alex Pereira, one of the best combat athletes of all time. You know, we all agree there, right? GSP, maybe not the GOAT of the sport, but one of the GOATs. They're very rare one-off things where, like, Islam's fights are always like Hanato Moicano, one day notice, gets dropped. Don't like that. Dustin Poirier, 2-2 going into the 5th on one of the judges' scorecards. And again, this comes down to judges and ref. If we have Downey Dan Murgliata, we're fucked. JDM fans, we're fucked. If Downey Dan Murgliata's reffing this fight, we're cooked. It's over. If Jack Della Maddalena gets dropped once, or if Jack Della Maddalena's got top position, bro, her fucking Downey Dan is gonna stand them up. All right, and if you don't know what I'm referring to, Dan Murgliata is the very smart, intelligent person who's been going around as a UFC ref, BKFC ref, and having some of the just worst stoppages of all time, and one of the biggest questionable decisions. I think he was responsible for the Kyler Phillips fuck up where he stepped in 3 seconds before the bell rang, and the fighters both thought the fight was over, and then Dan said, no, the fight's still on, even though he stepped in 3 seconds before the bell. He's also known for his Brian Battle stoppage, where Brian Battle killed that guy in BKFC, dropped him, and Dan literally looked at him and just let Brian Battle walk up to him and fucking smoke him on the jaw. I get it, like, BKFC has different rules, but it's very clear what's going on there. The fighter who's taking a knee doesn't understand the rules fully, but okay. He's also been responsible for, what's his name? Not Frankie Edgar. I want to say it's like Frank Mir. That stoppage where, like, Frank Mir was out on his feet and the opponent was looking at him and just kept on hitting him, and at some point he just stopped and was like, the fight's over, and Dan was just staring at Frank Mir being fucking wobbled everywhere, and then stopped the fight. Like, he's known for some of the worst stoppages and some of the worst calls ever. I could see, like, JDM being caught in a sub, like a Darce, not tapping, still coherently there, and then stopping the fight, you know? This is shaping to be one of the best fights of all time in the UFC in terms of technique, skill, and everything. Except for, like, name value, I guess. But it can be ruined, okay? Islam does cheat as well. A lot of glove grabs from Islam. So, we could see some weird stuff happen in this fight, you know? If an eye poke happens in this fight, I will be... I'm not saying that on YouTube, but, I will be not happy. Okay, let's just say that. But yeah, I'm picking JDM. I like both fighters. If either one of these guys wins, I'm happy, and this is just going to be a nice fight to just watch. So, I'm picking JDM. I'm interested to see what happens, and I'm recording this on Friday the 7th. I'm about a week out until this fight happens. But yeah, that's been my picks and predictions for UFC 322. If you made it to the end of this video, I want to thank you for watching, and as always, hope you have a good day.